What's up, guys? My name's Brandon, and welcome back to Apple Weekly. In this episode, we're going to discuss even more new features in iOS 18.4. We have some amazing news about iOS 19. Apple is admitting defeat on AI, a crazy AirTag story, and more. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on everything going on in the world of Apple, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and also check out the Apple Den Discord server. Okay, so this week we saw 2 Apple software updates along with a lot of Apple product releases. As you saw here on the channel, I was actually sick this week. I did have the flu, and that's why I look kind of rough right now, but it was a very busy week in the world of Apple regardless. So we did see iOS 18.4 Beta 3 along with iOS 18.3.2, which was released to the public. That was just a bug fix update with an important security patch included as well. So no new features. Of course, that is a double point update, so we weren't expecting any new features in that. However, we did see some features in 18.4 Beta 3 as we await the final release for that, which is coming in just a few weeks. So I covered most of the new features in iOS 18.4 Beta 3 in my What's New video, but we did also get a new splash screen that I did not cover here in the podcast application. So this just tells us about the library widget and of course the followed show widget for the home screen, which I showed that in Beta 1, but we didn't get this splash screen here until this third beta. Also, if we head into our settings and go to camera and then into camera control, down here near the bottom, we do have the launch visual intelligence toggle. So you can turn visual intelligence off if you would like to. This was actually here in Beta 2, but for some reason it did not work for me. If I turn this off right away when I would press on visual intelligence, like hold the camera control button, it would still launch. I would have to wait like a couple of seconds after disabling it, but this now works properly. I'm not having that bug anymore where it doesn't work immediately after toggling this, feature on or off. And I think this is a great change to have as well for those that don't like visual intelligence, even though I think it's one of the best Apple Intelligence features, especially related to the camera control, but you can turn it off if you would like to. And of course, we do have the change to the launch camera section as well. It no longer says camera and then the application, it just says the application. However, one thing I would like to see Apple change is to add the glyph icon to this section. So right where it says launch camera, underneath that, I would like there to be a glyph icon to kind of signify and make it more visually apparent that that's what that section in settings does, and that's what it's going to launch. Like if it had the Instagram logo, if it had the Snapchat or magnifier logo right there next to camera under launch control without having to go into it, I just think that would be a better experience and a better aesthetic for this main camera control settings page. Now I have to talk about the ambient sounds feature. So this was here in iOS 18.4 Beta 1, but I just have to say that this past week I've really been using these ambient sounds a lot more than I had previously. So I use these pretty much every single day now for work. So we have the sleep, chill, productivity, and well-being. I've been using productivity and chill the most. So I use these when I'm working, and I have to say, it's amazing. I took these for granted for the first couple of betas, really the first 3 betas. I really only started using them consistently after the third beta got released. And man, this has replaced Lo-fi for me. You guys know the YouTube channel, the Lo-fi music. I used to listen to that while I worked, but this has now replaced that for me. And the fact that it lives in the control center is awesome. Like, yes, it plays music from Apple Music or whatever, but it's just nice to have the convenience of it being right there in the control center. And I'm curious about you guys. Are you using ambient music at all? Do you like the feature? Like, have you actually experimented with it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because I'm a bigger fan of that than I thought I would be. And of course, we do have the back tap banner up there, as you can see. So anytime I double tap that, it does show the banner. That is new in 18.4, and the new feature in 18.4 Beta 3 is that you could actually turn that banner off if you go into your accessibility and then down here to touch and then down to back tap. We have a new toggle here for show banner. So now if I trigger that again, it will not show the banner, but it will do the action. So I like that because I'm not the biggest fan of that banner. I'm just glad that Apple's giving us the flexibility to disable some of the small things that they include throughout iOS. And we'll talk about the performance, the battery life, and when to expect the next beta of iOS 18.4 in a moment. But first we need to talk about some app updates. So the Apple Sports application just recently got an update this week, and it added the F1. So it added F1 support, and it also added support for the UEFA Women's Champions League soccer to Apple Sports as well. So they continue expanding into different sports, which is awesome. And I'm really curious because there's a lot of good F1 apps out there. So I'm really curious to see how Apple Sports is going to do with F1 because it will show, live leaderboards, lap times, and more. And I'm sure it will have that really nice simplistic look as well. So I'm curious to see that. Also, Apple is adding 6 new games to Apple Arcade for April, including Roller Coaster Tycoon, one of my all-time favorite games. I used to play that when I was a kid back in the day. That is coming to Apple Arcade, which is a really nice addition. Now, as far as the performance and the battery life goes on iOS 18.4 Beta 3, I have to say the performance has been great so far. I did run a fresh Geekbench 6 test here, and we scored a 3520 single core, 8614 multi-core, and you can see how that compares to our previous runs. We still have not scored 9,000 again ever since that early beta of 18.4, but you can see the scores have been pretty consistent throughout the 18.4 betas, which is a good thing. Now, as far as the battery life goes, battery life has also been great for me on beta 3. So I did notice a minor bump going from beta 2 to beta 3, just like I did going from beta 1 to beta 2. So that's also a pretty good sign. However, I would not really expect much more improvement in terms of battery life. You've probably already seen everything that we're going to get for that, but who knows? If we still have the A build to go, which may have better battery life, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But so far, for me and beta 3, battery life is great. Okay, so let's talk about what to expect next from Apple. So next up is going to be iOS 18.4 beta 4. Now, we should be seeing that next week on the week of March 17th. Now, March 17th is a holiday, so we might not see that on Monday, but we could be seeing that as early as Tuesday, the 18th. Unless Apple releases a software update on a holiday, it's possible, but they don't typically do that. But nonetheless, we should be seeing the 4th beta at some point next week. And then after that, we could either get a 5th beta or an RC, and then the final release either in that first week of April or that second week of April. And then, of course, after that, we should be seeing the first beta of iOS 18.5 start rolling out. And we were excited for that a while back because of the Apple Intelligence features that we might have been seeing, the new Siri features that got delayed from 18.4. But of course, now we're hearing that those are most likely not coming until iOS 19, which that seems far away. But honestly, if you look at it, we really only have April and May to go before we see the first beta of iOS 19 in early June. So it's really not that far off. Okay, so let's talk about iOS 19. And we have some really big news regarding iOS 19. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, we need to talk about the delayed Apple Intelligence features because, we're hearing now that Apple, they added a new disclosure to the iPhone 16 sales page about these delayed Siri features. So they're kind of admitting it. But we're also hearing that the top executive that oversees Siri at Apple, he told staff in a meeting that the AI delays have been ugly and embarrassing, and a decision to publicly promote the technology before it was ready made matters worse. So in this report, it says, quote, "It remains unclear when the new Siri features will launch. There are other more urgent priorities in upcoming launches, but they will come. The Siri features were delayed due to quality issues that resulted in them not working properly up to a third of the time." He said that JG, Craig Federighi, and other executives are taking, quote, "intense personal accountability." So it's good to see that Apple is at least admitting internally that they're, having issues and that they're not really happy with the way that Apple Intelligence is rolling out. So it's good to see that there's kind of a fire lit under the Apple executives as well. It's not just us out here on an island by ourselves feeling like we've been betrayed. Not really betrayed, but you know what I mean. A lot of people are upset about it, and it's good to see that Apple is at least also upset about it. But we do have good news because we're now hearing from Mark Gurman that iOS 19 it may not include a ton of new Apple Intelligence features like we originally thought, especially not the new GPT Siri and things like that, but we're hearing that it might have the biggest redesign to iOS since iOS 7. He said, quote, "Apple is preparing one of the most dramatic software overhauls in the company's history, aiming to transform the interface of the iPhone, iPad, and Mac for a new generation of users. The revamp will fundamentally change the look of the operating systems and make Apple's various software platforms more consistent. That includes updating the style of icons, menus, apps, windows, and system buttons. The changes are coming as a part of iOS 19 and iPadOS 19, codenamed Luck, and macOS 16, which is dubbed Cheer. They go well beyond a new design language and aesthetic tweaks. So this is amazing news to hear. And I know we hear this all the time, but we don't really hear it from Gurman. Like last year, I remember Gurman saying, and first off, Gurman's not always right. Like I get that, but he's, the best source we have for this type of stuff. So I'm going to believe him over a lot of the other people who, spit out these rumors every year. So if he's saying this, that is a good sign, especially when it's kind of close to WWDC. It's not like a year away. And also, if you remember last year, Gurman said that we would see UI enhancements, like, UI enhancements in iOS 18. He never said a redesign was coming in iOS 18. It was just small UI enhancements that we were going to see with 18. So now he's saying this about 19. That's a good sign. And if we've seen it from multiple sources as well. So it's hard to see, it's not very common that we see multiple sources agree on a big redesign coming to iOS. So iOS 19 is looking like it's going to be a great update, even if it doesn't include all the amazing Siri features that we were hoping for. Oh, and by the way, I have to ask you guys, do you want to see circular icons on the iPhone? Like we didn't hear anything specific that we're going to see circular icons, but it is a possibility. I personally am not a fan. I would like to see Apple transition more to the Vision OS style on iOS, but I don't think I want circular icons on my iPhone. But what do you think? Do you want that, or do you want the same style icons that we have right now? But that's not the only thing coming in iOS 19, because we also heard from Mark Gurman that the AirPods are going to get a live translation feature as a part of iOS 19. So he said this: Apple is planning a new AirPods feature that allows the earbuds to live translate an in-person conversation into another language. The capability will be offered as a part of an AirPods software upgrade due later this year. It will be tied to iOS 19. So we've seen this before from, I believe, the Pixel Buds have this, and some other headphones out there have this, where you can do a live translation in person with another person. It's pretty amazing technology. So it's good to see Apple is bringing this to the AirPods as well. And it appears that this will be for the AirPods Pro 2, along with the new AirPods Pro 3, which are expected later this year. So how we're expecting an iPhone Ultra foldable phone at the end of next year? That was something that Mark Gurman reported a while back. So we are expecting to see that at the end of 2026. But we're also hearing about a foldable iPad Pro. Yes, a massive foldable iPad Pro. So this is coming from Digital Chat Station, and it says they talk about an 18.8-inch foldable screen with a, quote, metal substructure lens that integrates the receiver and transmitter components of Face ID for under-display facial recognition. So it looks like, at least according to this prototype, that we're going to have under-display Face ID for this massive foldable iPad Pro. I don't really know that I want that. That just seems super big and cumbersome and very expensive also. So I'm on board with the iPhone Ultra foldable phone that opens up like a book, but I don't know if I'm on board with a massive foldable iPad Pro. What do you guys think? But something a little bit closer than that is the iPhone 17 Pro, which is coming later this year. So we're hearing that it's going to use an advanced cooling system for better performance. So this comes from Instant Digital, and they say that the iPhone 17 Pro will utilize vapor chamber cooling to further improve thermal performance. Now, we did hear that this was coming last year, and we didn't really get that with the iPhone 16s. It did get better in terms of thermals, but it didn't get exactly what they're saying here. So it'll be awesome to see if we have even better thermals again with these 17 Pros, because going from 15 Pro to 16 Pro was a nice improvement when it comes to thermal management. Now, we also heard this week from Ming-Chi Kuo that the new HomePod with a screen is going to enter mass production after WWDC in June. So he said this on X: 3 months ago, I predicted that mass production of the new display-equipped HomePod would slip from Q1 to Q3 due to software development issues. Beyond Apple Intelligence, the issues also involve ensuring the HomePod's interface aligns with the new OS updates like iOS 19, set to roll out across other devices in the second half of 2025. This alignment is essential for seamlessly integrating new products into Apple's ecosystem. So we assumed that this new HomePod would be delayed until like next year or even the year after because of the Apple Intelligence delays, but we're hearing that it might actually still get released later this year, which would be pretty interesting, especially when personal context and things like that are not expected to come until, a later version of iOS 19. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not really too excited about that just yet because we don't know a ton about it, but I'm at least curious to see what Apple does. And then finally, just as tradition, we have another crazy AirTag story. So this time, a man in Colorado was at a park with his family when his sister-in-law noticed a strange device inside of the toy car that his toddler niece was driving around in that park. Now, she didn't know what it was, like the sister did not know what this device was, but the man, Patrick, immediately recognized it as an AirTag that was hidden inside of that RC car. Patrick had no clue how the AirTag ended up in the toy, but he did know one thing. He did not want to take any chances, so he destroyed the AirTag on the spot and threw the pieces away before filing a police report. And he said that the toy car was brand new from Amazon, so it wasn't likely placed there before they bought it, and if it wasn't there before they bought it, that meant that somebody at the park must have put that in the car while the niece was playing with it. That's scary. Now, it doesn't seem like they noticed anything suspicious at the park when looking around to see if they could catch the person, who put that in there. But the bad thing is, they could have identified who this person was who hid this AirTag in that niece's car if he just would not have destroyed the AirTag. Because if you take that to the police, they can get a warrant from Apple to get the details of the person who owns that AirTag, who set that up on their account, and that person would get arrested for it. So take that as a lesson. If you ever find an AirTag on you and somebody's trying to stalk you, do not destroy it. Do not throw it away. That could be valuable information for the police to determine who was actually setting the AirTag on you in the first place. But nonetheless, this was a crazy one. I've never heard of somebody putting an AirTag in a little kid's toy RC car. That's just scary and wrong on so many levels. So be careful out there, parents. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this episode and hope you guys could bear with me. I'm sure my voice didn't sound the best. I don't look the best. I've just been dealing with a lot of issues. I've been really sick the past few days. So hope you can forgive me for that. I will be back better next week. So anyways, if you guys still enjoyed the video somehow, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's episode. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching and I'll see you soon.